If me suggesting that you need to put healthy boundaries into your life, into your relationships, makes you feel queasy and scared and almost panicked, like you want to run out of the room, then I think this video is going to be super helpful for you. As empaths, we are taught that having healthy boundaries, that saying no, that saying that there's something else that's important to us than just jumping to the rescue of someone else, of, telling someone that we're too busy or we can't do whatever it is they need us to do. All of those things, we are told, makes us a bad person if we say no, if we set a healthy boundary. And that's just simply not true. The quickest way for you to become a completely overwhelmed empath is to not have healthy boundaries. But in working with empaths all over the world, one of the number one most panic-inducing statements I can say is, okay, we're going to work on putting healthy boundaries in place now. And I can say this with great authority, not just because of having worked with so many people, but also my own struggle with putting healthy boundaries out there. The very words of it, now I can say the words healthy boundaries and think about putting them in place and not feel panic. But for really the vast majority of my life, it was panic-inducing for me too. And I want to talk about why it's so panic-inducing for us to simply do something that is an absolutely natural part and a perfectly good part of living as an empowered human being in this world. And that is simply deciding what is right for us and what is not right for us. And that it's okay that we make that decision for ourselves. So I want to first sort of define what is a boundary. A boundary is just basically, this over here is okay with me, and this over here is not okay with me. So let me give you an example. Your mom comes to you sobbing because she is very upset, and she's really upset because your brother is doing something and it's making her so, she can't even deal with it. She can't handle it. It's something she should handle because it's between him and her. Okay. But she comes to you because she knows you're the soft-hearted, kind empath in the world, and you want to make everybody feel good, and you want to make peace, and you want to not feel the pain that you're feeling come from your mom or your brother or any of this conflict. So she comes to you and says, I want you to go talk to your brother and, get him to understand why he needs to do this or that, or how he's making me feel. Okay. Now, you might inside your soul think, this is not something I want to do. I don't feel like it's even something I should be doing, right? However, so on that side of it, this is not really okay with me. This doesn't feel good to me. This is feeling like I'm being pressured. It's feeling like it's really not my responsibility to handle this. It's feeling like I'm kind of being used in the situation because let's say, every time you do that, you just everybody turns on you and makes you the bad guy because you're the one who had the audacity to go talk to your brother. And then your mom and your brother's little relationship is all healed and you are once again the bad guy. This may sound familiar to you. It happens to a lot of empaths. So over here, maybe you're feeling really bad about it. And this is like on this side of the boundary, right? But over here, you're getting a lot of manipulation and pressure from your mom to do what she's asking you to do because she either doesn't want to deal with it, she wants what she wants when she wants it, whatever the situation is, right? Now, let's just imagine that somehow you summon the courage to say, you know what, Mom, it's not my issue, it's not my problem. I'm not doing this. What's likely to happen after that? Well, if you're in a non-toxic relationship with your mom, if your mom is not a toxic person, she's probably going to say, you know what, honey, I understand. I probably shouldn't have even asked you in the first place. I just was really worried about it, right? It's not the likely scenario of what's going to happen, but let's just say that's possible. Now, if your mom is more of a person, as many empaths have grown up in, sort of a situation where it's like, I know, oh my God, how could you do this to me? You're being so selfish. We get that a lot as empaths. If we try to set a healthy boundary, it's so selfish. You're so vain. You're uncaring, which is of course all the opposite of what you could possibly be as an empath. It's like it's impossible for you to be that, but that's what people who want you to do their bidding and don't want you to have health boundaries will tell you. They'll start calling you those names. And so what happens is you feel horrible about attempting to hold a perfectly natural and good boundary. It's perfectly okay in a normal situation to say no. So that brings me to, very obviously, why do we as empaths have such a hard time setting a healthy boundary, which oftentimes requires that we say no, and that we say no without any further explanation? And there's two reasons. One, most of us have been brought up in households that did not respect our boundaries whatsoever. We might have been brought up by parents or grandparents or extended family members who all had maybe their own things going on, their own issues, and we were made to feel like we had to be at everyone's beck and call. They recognized our innate caringness and that we wanted to help other people. We wanted to fix things. And instead of helping us learn how to have healthy boundaries, so we weren't driving ourselves into the ground, they instead were like fine with making sure that we were the ones who were fixing everything, right? Fixing everything all the time, making everything okay, being the peacekeeper. And so that's one big reason. Many of us were brought up in families where healthy boundaries were not allowed, especially for the empath in the family. The empath in the family most often is the one who not only feels any conflict, so walking through that front door, even as a kid, maybe you could feel there was conflict bubbling in your house. And because you feel it fully in your soul, because you're an empath, you're actually feeling that conflict or that nervousness or that anger, you want it to stop because you're feeling it inside yourself. So not only do you want it to stop for everyone around you, but you want to stop it for yourself, because who wants to feel that way, right? So you went into maybe peacekeeper mode or helper mode when it really wasn't your responsibility, but nobody told you that. And so because of that, you grew up believing that everyone else's issues, everything else that anyone else could possibly want, should come before anything that you as a human being want. And then that second reason that I've already sort of mentioned is that when you did try to set some healthy boundaries, you ended up being called selfish or uncaring or getting too big for whatever, or you could probably insert tons of other adjectives. Needless to say, not necessarily flattering, often the exact opposite of who you are, but intended to keep you from holding that healthy boundary, right? And by the way, it succeeded. Because if you to this moment have a hard time holding a healthy boundary about the most simple thing, this is okay with me, these are the things I'm willing to do, these are the things I'm not willing to do, right? What about that is actually a bad thing? Everybody has preferences. Everybody has things that they need to do. But we've been taught that it's a bad thing because we're supposed to be 24/7 available for everybody, peacekeeper for everybody, uplifter for everybody. And that's not a healthy way to go. That is a recipe for burnout. So what I want to encourage you to do starting today is to notice, number one, in your life, were you denied having any kind of healthy boundary as you grew up? What did that look like for you? And number two, when you did try to hold a healthy boundary, were you called names? What kind of pressure was put on you to tell you that you were wrong for simply wanting to do something for yourself, or simply saying, this doesn't feel good to me? And three, what does a healthy boundary, like what situations that are in your life right this very minute would you like to be able to hold a healthy boundary? Where would you, what things are not okay with you that maybe you're feeling pressured to do? And what things are very okay with you? Like, where are the things that you're willing to do? And kind of put those two things down. And so you're really clear about, what are the things? Are there things that you need to cut off in your life? Are there projects? Are there people that you realize are just constantly stepping on your boundaries? And really try to work on that going forward, realizing that a healthy boundary, if you think about it, I'm sure that when somebody asked you to do something that is in the not okay section for you, or that you just really did not want to do for whatever reason, you felt it in your gut, right? Because we as empaths, we take stuff right into our gut. It's one of the best ways for us to make decisions or be aware of what is okay and not okay with us. Our gut will often tell us. And you may have gotten that real visceral gut feeling of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be involved. This is a bad situation. I'm just going to end up hurt. I'm going to be blamed, etc. And then you went against it, right? And ended up going forward and doing whatever it was you didn't want to do. And what did that just do but send a signal to yourself that you're not going to listen to yourself. You're going against your own intuition. You're walking yourself knowingly into, or relatively knowingly, into bad situations, and that it's okay. All of those things are against your own well-being. And really, if you think about it, why would any other person that wasn't just trying to get what they wanted want you to go against your own well-being? Like, a good person wants you to go with your well-being. So from this moment forward, what I'd like to challenge you to do is to rephrase healthy boundaries. Perhaps start using something like an affirmation. I have healthy boundaries. I love my healthy boundaries. It's easy for me to hold them. That is not going to feel normal or okay for you. And it's going to take some practice. And then the next time that somebody comes to you with something that you don't want to do, simply say no. And you're going to feel all kinds of different kinds of discomfort. And here's the great thing. Even if they put a ton of pressure on you, you can now understand, hey, this is actually only coming from this training I got most of my life, that I wasn't allowed to have healthy boundaries, and I'm not allowed to say what's right for me, and I'm always supposed to be there for everybody else. And that teaching is totally crap, frankly. This is not something I have to believe. You can literally say to yourself, I'm no longer going to believe this. It is perfectly okay for me to have healthy boundaries. And in fact, I'm still a good person, even if I have a healthy boundary that says, I'm not doing whatever it is you want to do right now. And you may have people in your life, especially pay attention. If you have people in your life that you end up always carrying, that they aren't ever really making their own way in the world, they're not ever trying to make any effort to solve their own problems, you're just the one carrying them all the time, you're solving their problems for you, just realize that that is actually draining your energy at a really, really deep level. And that may be why, if you are experiencing exhaustion and disempowerment and depression, a lot of that can come from simply just being worn out because you're not having your boundaries respected. If you'd like to learn more about how to sort of energetically and otherwise create healthy boundaries for yourself, I highly encourage you to jump into my Empath Institute. You can click the link down under the video, or you can just go to empathtraining.com and you can go check it out and jump in. I really hope that you take that opportunity. I'm trying to make it very accessible to everyone because I want so much for empaths to basically rise up, take back our power, and change the world in the meaningful ways that we're intended to. Until then, please practice your healthy boundaries. You can do it. It's just come from some old beliefs that aren't helpful for you. See you soon.